So we are describing about the various pranas, movements of pranas, meditating on them, meditation of, they are all meant for what actually? These meditations are meant for the realization of the various pranas functioning in various for various purposes in the physical body, by which, even though it is meant for an activity in the physical body, but it is meant for the ascension of the mind, which is known as the qualities of emotions, thoughts, intelligence. That's called the bodham, buddhi, chitta. They call it in Sanskrit chitta, satya, chitta, ananda. They call it. So sat and chitta. Chittam is a bodham. So buddhi, bodham, chittam, then satyam. In order to convert them, in order to transform them, there has to be a transformation. A transformation can be done only to those which can be transformed, first of all, and which are in the sthula bhava, because transformation always takes place from sthula bhava to sukshma bhava. That means from the veshti, samashti to veshti, or what do you call macrocosm to microcosm. Microcosm to macrocosm is not known as transformation, is known as projection or change. Whereas changes from the macrocosm to microcosm is known as transformation. One is creating. Why it is like that? It is because from the microcosm, when it goes to macrocosm, that means from sukshmata to sthulata, it is creating forms. It is creating forms and shapes, and those created forms and shapes transforming is called coming back to trance, coming into a trance, being in trance. What does it mean? That means going into the sukshmata, which is not visible. Formation is visible. So from sukshmata to sthalata, you can see, you can have a form, shape, listen, and things like that. Whereas transformation is that from the sthalata to sukshmata. Is why the transformation is used only for, that is for movement from the sthalata to sukshmata, not the other way around. So they are all meant for that. Why is it meant for that? Because the pancha pranas have to be identified as a one prana at one point of time. Even though the pranas are divided into 5, pancha pranas we call it. The 5 pranas we have already described about 2 of them. One was prana, another was vyana. Is it not? Prana and vyana we have already described. They have been named. Names have been given by us only for the purpose of studying it. So panchapranas are the 5 various activities of pranas working in different directions and for different purposes. And these different functions and different purposes of the pranayama is only for maintaining the system of the level of mind and thought. Even though we think it is for the physical body, no, that's an exercise. Pranayama exercise is different. This is what I am talking about, the real travel of the prana, division of the prana. Even though the prana is one, we have divided into 5 activities, one goes down, one goes up, one goes left, one goes right, one goes up, one goes like that. So Urdhva, Purva, Paschima, Uttara, Dakshina, that has been divided. They are all meant for what? Identifying. Now, earlier we said about the Vyana, about listening, Shravana, we said, and meditate on that. We said Virana and the knowledge of the Vyana directions, because of the identification of the Antaratma through the Vyana. Was that what we have explained in the last class? So through any function of the prana, if you travel, you will ultimately reach the Suchmata of the Pancha. What is the Suchmata of the Pancha Prana? Prana. And what is the Suchmata of the Prana? Is the Atma. What is the Suchmata of the Atma? It is Brahman. So we have to gradually grow towards the Suchmata. That means merging the, identifying and understanding the Sthula Bhava of our thought forms. Everything is our thought form. The world is existing is a thought. There is this, that is a thought. It's all a sort of conviction that you have created and understanding in the mind that it's not possible to change it. Why? Because we firmly believe in it. And there the system, the mind, the memory and the mind which is there in us is so firm that whatever you want to remember, you remember. What you do not want to remember, you don't remember. This is also there. The memory is depending upon the choice. When there is lot of things are crowded in, then you would like to forget it. Too much of crowding in, you would like to forget it. If it is something very specific and you give lot of importance to it, you will remember always. Even in the unconscious state also you will remember about it. See, that memories will be there. So the principle being that identification of these pranas, like identification of the thoughts, because this is a meditation process. So that's why the explaining is very difficult, because it has to be felt, So I'm trying to put it in different words so that we get an idea behind it. See. So what happens is that when we identify these pranas, the various functions and capabilities of the pranas are identified through the meditational processes. So we identify the total prana at a point of time. The absolute prana in us will be identified. When I identify the absolute prana in me, the absolute prana is that which is there when we are getting the life form in the womb for a fetus. When it gets the life form, when the prana enters into the system, the moment it enters into the system, only the chalanam begins. As soon as it enters, this is divided into 5 activities. This prana goes into, it's all in a fraction of a second. It takes care of all the activities in the system, so that from each and every activity, the memories can be transmitted and transformed to the mind, so that the mind has got chittam at that point of time. There is no buddhi at that time. When this prana has been inducted, there is no buddhi. For an infant who is in the womb of a mother, it doesn't have intelligence, it doesn't have buddhi, but it has bodham, which is consciousness. That's called the chittam. That has got the bodham, which is absolutely truth. That's called the chitta. From the chitta, satya chitta ananda. After that is ananda only. See? Where there is no identity, that's anandam. Anandam is what? No identity is called anandam. There's nothing called a substance or an emotion called an anandam. Not that anandam that we call it as a pleasure or happiness. Anandam, anandate iti anandaha is that. No. The Sanskrit word itself says that which doesn't get attached to, nandana is that attachment, activities. Which doesn't get attached to anything is called anandam. So, anandam is that, not happiness, not pleasure. So, the chittam goes into anandam, status of anandam. So, the purpose though, when the infant is there, the infant is absolutely, that's why we call it as the God. See, that's why the Bhruna Hatya is a great sin, Papa. It is worse than killing a human being. When after he is being born, some people deserve to be killed. That's a different thing. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say that. Bhruna Hatya is a Papa. Why? Because it is God, godliness. Because it has no intelligence. There is no enmity, there is no attraction, there is no desire, there is no attachment. The function is exactly as the Antaratma is there, that which is beyond the mind, beyond the mana. The Atma is directly functioning there. Absolute connection to the direct activity of the consciousness. That is why the Bhruna Hatya should not be done. That's great sin. Why it is called sin? It's because of that. Because it is the Atma Hatya. It's Bhruna Hatya. So, the prana, when it enters and the moment it divides into various parts, the activities and functions are immediately correspondingly transmitted to the level of the supporting the thought, intelligence, chitta, the bodham, supporting the thought, so that the karmas can be executed in the right manner. Why the prana has been divided into 5 different activities, or why the prana should function like this, what we are talking in this meditational process, is because to identify and understand that each and every prana that is being designed and according to this has been designed for the purpose of ascension of the mind, we call it. Upliftment of the mind, ascension of the mind, whatever you call it. That means going, ascension in the sense here, going beyond mind is called ascension. Yes, it's not going up or down or something like that. Again, ascension is that, when the vapor from the water, when it boils, the vapor ascends up. It is a relative term because the stulada is at the bottom, so we call it as up. When it becomes lighter, the material becomes lighter, it is supposed to travel only up, we call it as ascension. It is not necessarily, when you compare with the universe, it is not necessarily, it has to be up or down, as I said, you see. Suppose in the daytime, the sun is up. So we call the sun is up. So that should be up, right? That is up. When that is up, when there are clouds, it rains. So from up, the rain falls on the earth. Okay. Now in the night, what happens? The sun is not up, sun is down. That's why you got night. Sun is down, but still, from the down, the clouds will rain. The night also we have rain. What happens there? So there is no ascension, there is no up and there is no down. So same way, ascension of the mind in the sense here, we use this term here is that transformation of the mind. Because it's a stula bhava. Mana is a stula bhava. Mana is a combination of again the thoughts and the emotions put together. You remove the emotions from that, you will get the thoughts which is there from the karma phala. The thoughts will be from the experience of the karmas, will be there if you remove the emotions from there. You add the emotions to that, then it starts functioning. The thought, to make it function, you have to add the emotion to it. Then only it will function. Then it starts functioning. When it starts functioning only, then it starts giving you the results. So the result should be, when the emotion, as I told you, the emotions are necessary. Emotions have to be utilized according to the necessity pertaining to the requirement of the situation and according to the law of the dharma, or according to the dharma only it has to be utilized. Yes. Even emotions are necessary. The fear is necessary. As I think last class we explained that. No? We misuse the fear. We call it as abuse. It's actually abusing the fear, abusing the activity, abusing the emotion actually. It is called abuse. Using the emotion is different. Use, abuse. Not using it properly is called abuse. So, using it properly. What is using the fear properly? Using fear properly is that the mind, who has got the fear? Who should have the fear? The ego. Ego center has the fear. That's the mind, what we can call it as mind, we can call it as ego. Who has got fear? Ego. Who has got insult? Ego. Who has got sadness? My ego. If I do not have an ego, I don't have insult feeling. If I do not have an ego, I don't have a fear. I relate the fear with certain things, then only I am getting fear. It's a relative term. See, relating to it. So the utility of the emotions with the thoughts should be based on the necessity. The fear has to be there. No? Grief has to be there. Sadness has to be there. And things like that. They are all meant for certain things. Like when we do certain wrong things, which is adharmic, we say we should have fear. Arey, Bhagwan se daro. This is a small colloquial language. It's a colloquial, everywhere they say that. No, old people also say, hey, Bhagwan se daro kam se kam. Bhagwan se daro kam se kam. In the sense, the one who is not visible, Bhagwan is not visible. There is nothing which is beyond. That's not available. Only human beings are available now. Bhagwan se daro. That means fearing that which is not visible to the mind. Fearing to that which is not understandable by the mind. Fearing that which cannot be perceived by the mind. Mind has got limitations and it can only perceive so much of knowledge, that's all. Nothing beyond that. So have fear to that which you know, which you do not know in your knowledge. Beyond that, there is something which is called there. So what is that fear? Fear to do the adharmic way of living. There should be fear. That is why the fear has been given to the human being. You should be, what is that fear? Fear is here. Again, I will be coming to some of those things here. That's why I am doing the preliminary to that. Some of the this is a positive way of it. Even though fear is a negativity, using the negativity also should be positively. Then it will create the results. It is necessary. The fear has to be there to do the adharmic things. When we call that as a fear, it is not an emotion of fear that, oh, something will happen to me. The fear is that to have the reluctance, to have the, you restrict yourself doing something wrong, which is called wrong. Okay, let us call it as wrong. Wrong means adharmam. Adharmam is that which is not designed according to the karmas. When you do that, then you will have to have the results also according to that. So, what is the fear should be? The fear is that I should not get the result of an adverse effect by doing this karma, because I will have to undergo the process of karma, execution of the karma again. So why should I do that? Should be the fear. That's called the fear. Now what you have done, you have abused that emotion, utilized for positivity. That is why we called fear as negativity. That's why we called fear as negativity. It is not actually negativity, even though it can be classified as negativity. Asurigata in us is there. In everyone there is Asurigata. That's why they show in our Puranas, epics, they show as always Asura and Deva. And whenever Devendra becomes bad, Asura will attack him and take over the Swarga. It's always happened. What is that symbolically it is shown like that? What is it actually? What's happening actually? Even though you are a Devata, by practice you are doing it, suppose you turn yourself into the Asurika thinking, because the Asura is inside you, the Asurikata inside you, what will happen? The Devikata, the Devata in you is conquered by the Asura. Now in order to get rid of it, the Devikata in you has to do tapasya. What happens? He goes to Mahavishnu or Vishwa, and so Indra is told, you have to be in exile. You go and hide yourself and do tapasya for 12 years. Then you will get the Indra Padavi back. What does it mean? The the Devata inside you will start functioning into the Devi Gata again. Do meditation on that. So what happens at one point of time, because of that tapasya in you, or the intention and function of the Devi Gata, you execute your karmas dharmically. The moment it starts working dharmically, the asura in you subsides and the Devata comes up, restoring the position again back. Is the meaning of two asuras and Devatas. No? There is nobody with the horns and mustache and dumbstrum and all those. They are all in us only. That inside us, when we become asura, we will have two horns. Invisible. They are there. It will be there, you see. That is the asurikata in us. So what I am trying to tell you is that, so the anything that is what is created, anything that is provided, anything that is there in the prakriti, they are all meant for using it. Fear is meant for using it. Anger is meant for using it. If you use it, then it is okay. But if you abuse it, then it becomes a wrong emotion. Otherwise, getting anger will not be called as an anger. Suppose a war going on. He has to have an anger in him, Then only he can fight. If he doesn't have an anger, how can he shoot the other fellow? He cannot, no? It's not possible. So this is an anger which is necessary to create that activity of fighting the opposite in order to win over. That anger has to be there. But when that is used, we don't call a soldier fighting to another soldier, we don't call this man is angry. We call him brave. Okay. The same man, when he comes out in a society walking on the street, takes out a gun and shooting, he will say this fellow is mad, angry and mad. Same activity, you have identified it into two different ways depending upon situation. One, you have used it, one, you have abused it. Is it not? This is how you abuse that the capacities that has been given to you. It has been told to you not to use it, but still you use it. Once it is given, you are supposed to handle it with chittam, not with the intelligence, not with the buddhi, but with the consciousness. That is why we say that be conscious of what you are doing. We don't say be intelligent of what you are doing. No. What do you say? Be conscious of what you are doing. Be aware, be conscious. Conscious means what? That the karma phala, that means that chitta, that's called consciousness. That means you know that it is right or wrong, this karma is right or wrong. But intelligence will say to do it. That's why you don't say that. No? With the buddhi, you think with the buddhi whether it is right or wrong. We don't say that. We say be conscious about it, what you are doing. Whatever you are doing, be conscious about it. You are going against your own consciousness, the self-consciousness. You are working against your consciousness, or I am working against my consciousness. My consciousness doesn't allow, but my intelligence allows. When you do something, what happens? My consciousness doesn't allow, but I am doing it. If your consciousness is not allowing, who is making you do it? Buddhi, mana, or emotions and intelligence is making you do it. Is it? That's why we say be conscious. Consciously, I do not want to do it, or things like that. We always use all these things we use in our general term, but only thing we don't know the meaning of it. My consciousness doesn't allow it. No, simply saying that. No, what is that? My consciousness doesn't allow. Inside me, I am saying that some reluctance of doing that. You see, so that's called my consciousness is not allowing me to do it, but still I have to do it. Who is that I? Ahankara, ego. Who is that doing it? Intelligence. And conscious says, don't do it. What you should follow? That what conscious says. Is called chittam. The prana, what we are controlling or identifying and doing tapasya on that, meditation on these pranas, pancha pranas, in various activities of various ways, is meant for making us not making things doing with the intelligence and the mind, but we go beyond, we said, we go into the consciousness. That means stula. so that we identify, understand what is the karma, what should be done, so that I will not be able to tell again that I am doing something against my consciousness. Okay, but some people are intelligent nowadays. They want to do some mistake. Now, why did you do that? My conscience said I should do that. That is the utility. That is only the sentence that has been intelligently formed. That doesn't become a consciousness. It's a mask. Now, I don't mean by that. I sincerely and I want you to understand the right meaning of it. The consciousness. The consciousness is that the absolute awareness to the mind about what? About the Atma, about the Jnanam, knowledge of the Dharmam and Adharmam. That's called the Chittam, that's called the consciousness. That's called the consciousness. You see. That is why that consciousness is not used for the Jagrata, Swapna and Sushupta Avastha, conscious, subconscious and unconscious state. That has not been used. They are different. They are meant for the intelligence as far as this is concerned. So, why we said that? These are all to be understood. Why? Because we will be talking about something like that, about the apana, what we are coming to, about the lust and about the thought, speech and the apana. The importance of apana. The Shakti, that which creates a pressure in you, is called apana. Agni is apana. Agni is speech. Agni is the deity of speech. Speech is what? Speech comes from where? From the Agni. Agni is the prime deity of the speech. And speech comes because there is apana. If there is no apana, you cannot speak. Can you? When you speak, what happens? You hold the breath actually, You're holding the pressure of the Vayu down. When you're pressurizing like this, then the voice comes out. You see? See? You're holding it actually here. Then this is coming out. So, if you don't have, like a plane to take off, the exhaust is absolutely necessary. When that exhaust is powerful, then only this will move forward. Same way, when the speech is to come, the apana has to function. Depending upon the strength of the apana, that's why it is known as, the word in English they have formed, for the power of pushing it with power, what they call it? Compressor. Compressor is what? A bigger volume thing is compressed into a smaller place. It's called compressor. Trying to accommodate into smaller places, compressing it, is not. So compressor, apana is compressed air. That's called compressor. Then only you will be in a position to speak. Is that what we are going to talk? And then the repercussions of that and the advantages of that and how to utilize the apana. What is apana and how to utilize apana? Apana can be used in many ways. So Bhagavan says after the Vyana is what? Shravanam. Which dwara? Dakshina dwaram, southern exit. Prana. Eastern. Prana is the eastern door. 5 doors to approach to the space in the heart. Who is the king sitting there for identifying the Brahman? So we are approaching through each door. Don't forget the basics. You have to walk through the eastern door is called the Prana. Southern door is the Vyana. Now we are going to talk about the western door. Okay. It's also known, the western door is also known in now this language also. All the languages, western door is used for this only. Atha yo asya pratyang sushihi so apanaha sa vakso agnistadedat brahma varchaman nadyam ityupasita brahma varcham senna brahma varchasya nado bhavati evam veda brahma varchasya nado bhavati brahma varchasya nado bhavati ya evam veda atayosya pratyang sushi that's particular sushira is so apana. The vayu is known as the prana, is known as the apana, that which is known as the apana in the pratyang sushi. Pratyang sushi is what? Which is western doors. Yeah, vak, so panaha, vak. This is vak, so panaha. That which is apana, that it is speech, vak, so, that is vak. Agnistadeta, tadetat, and also it is fire, tadaeta agnihi. Also the fire, Brahma Varchasannadya mityupasita, the one who is doing the upasana of this and understands and identifies this, that the Brahma Varchasyannadoho, that which should be meditated on, the luster arising out of behavior and study of the Vedas and as food for eating. This is why I told you the whole introduction for this particular word, that the apana, that which should be Brahma Varchasannado Bhavati Evam Veda, that which should be meditated on as luster arising. Lust is arising from the apana. Luster arising from here, you see, he is qualifying it. Luster arising from good behavior. What is this good behavior? We have to say that. That is why he says that Atyam ityupasitaha, and study of the Vedas, good behavior and study of the Vedas and as food for eating. One who knows this becomes possessed of the luster arising from good behavior. How can lust arise from good behavior? This is what I was telling you in the introduction. The lust arising from good behavior, luster arising from good behavior and study of Vedas, of food for eating, is what I want to tell you. That's why I told you the whole introduction was only for this particular sentence. Sorry. That which is Western opening, the particular form, I'm just reading some of the paras so that you get just an idea. Particular form of the air which resides there, that is called apana. Apana because it moves. Aniti. That it moves downwards, moves downwards while exerting. For any exertion, you have to have a pressure, a compression. You put one step of foot forward, you will be holding your breath. You try to take a pen, you will be holding your breath. This all automatically happens. You have to hold your breath in order to get strength. Because that is the strength. Breath is the strength. So you should know how to hold the breath. The apana is power. Apana is Agni. When you hold the breath, then only you can talk. To shout, loud, you have to hold the breath, then only you can really shout. You are shouting, even though we are exhaling the air out, but we are exhaling it out from the compressed air. Then only you can create the power from that. That's called the Agni. So he says that is Vak, speech, because of its connection with that apana. So also that is Agni, the fire, the presiding deity of the speech. Tat etat, that Brahman that is called, which is such, that Brahma Varchasam, luster arising from good behavior and study of the Vedas, since good behavior and study of the Vedas are connected with the fire. Apana becomes Annada, the eater of the food, because it is caused the swallowing of the food. That remaining portion is that. Apana. Now here you have to meditate on that. Apana is it. Now what am I trying to tell you in this apana? Apana vayu is very important. Apana is also used for that when it moves down, apana, when it moves down while exerting or while excreting urine and stool, etc. Also, the apana excretion, for excretion, apana is required. The power of the apana is required for excreting. Anything that should be excreted from the excretion is necessary from the body. The apana vayu is required. That's very powerful. And also, apana is necessary in order to speak, in order for the speech. So he said. Now that means activity of the lower organs of the body. I mean, the organs at the lower part of the body is created by the apana. No? So the apana is the one who is the cause. Now, whenever this apana is purified, or whenever apana is utilized in the right sense, in the right way, then the lust is arising from our according to that that Mooladhara Hara Chakra, Swadhisthana Chakra, and the Hara Chakra. Hara Chakra, so Swadhisthana Chakra and the Mooladhara Chakra. So if the lust arising out of this, the lust is necessary. Kama. What is lust? Lust is kama. Kama is desire. Attachment and desire. This is necessary. That happens from the lower chakras. The lust happens from the lower chakras. The kama of attachment or attraction, kama, is necessary. Attachment is necessary. Attraction is necessary for whom? For the ego and for the mind. For the ego and mind, this attachment is necessary for the survival. And this attachment is necessary for execution of karmas in order to gain experience out of it. So in order to gain experience out of it, there has to be a lust. When there is lust, then only there is attachment. If there is no lust, there is no attachment. Kama has to be there. Then only we will have desire. Kama is what? Desire. Kama is desire. If that desire is not there, then there will be no attachment. If the desire is not there. Absolutely. You all understand that. So desire has to be there, then only attachment will be there. And desire has been given, kama has been given only to attach you for the purpose of execution of karmas. But we are attaching for unwanted things, but we are not attaching for execution of karmas. If you use the kama, if you use the luster only for the purpose of attachment for execution of your karmas, to exhaust them and gain the liberation or mukti, moksha, then it is okay. That is why the kama has been given. That is why attachment has been given. Because when in a human body, when there is ahankara, when there is mana, when there are panchendriyas, dashendriyas, and when there is emotions, in order to execute these emotions and the indriyas for collecting the information and function of the karmas, execution of karmas, to gain the right result through which I exhaust my execution of karmas so that I can get my liberation, is the purpose why the desire has been given. Have you got it? Could you get something? The lust has been given only for that. If there is no lust, the activity will not be there. If there is no desire, there will be no activity. If there is no desire, in fact, there will be no desire to live. When there is no desire to live, one will not do anything. That's all. See, we say, some people who are in the sick bed and all that, Doctor says, no, he has given up. I can save him, but he has given up. Even though it is not a very serious thing. He has given up. That means he has no more desire to live. When he has no desire to live, nobody can save him. He wants to detach himself and go away. You got it? Now this desire is caused, or this desire or the kama, lust, is caused by apana. When I meditate on this apana, why I meditate on this apana? To understand what is apana. Today, we don't understand what is apana. We understand only apana as utility of excretion of the stool and urine. That's all. That's all we understand. Or if at all one understands. But that is not enough. So he says, when the apana is functioning properly, when that prana, apana is a great. That's why apana is always first. Even in the puja, when you do that, apanaya namaha, samanaya namaha. See, first is apana. Because that is the one which is very important, apana prana. Apana is the one which is a compressed air, which is agni, which is a voice which you can speak. I will come to speech afterwards. Now we are talking about the apana utilized for compressed and utilized for the purpose of excretion as well as activities in the lower chakras and organs and the experiencing through those indriyas, panchendriyas, the karmendriyas and the jnanendriyas, and identifying Brahman out of it. Is that why we have to do the meditation? You understand? From the apana, I have to identify the Brahman. You see, it is very necessary. You know, in each and every stage, Brahman has to be identified. I don't know whether you have. Well, I always tell this. We all watch that Lord Shiva's program, no? Many things are stories, many things are for attraction. But there is always some high knowledge inherent in that, you see. When the Maharishi, who was that Rishi? Datiji, Maharishi Datiji, along with the Devatas, he goes to Mahavishnu. Says that I have no more capacity and to protect them, so you have to do something. So they said that Mata is like this and all that. Then he says that now Mata Parvati has to learn the rahasya of the Tantric Vidya, Munda Mala Vidya has to be learned, and then only she can overcome this problem, or you can overcome this problem of killing these asuras. This is what, you remember one sentence only he says. He also tells Mata Parvati, Bhagavan Shiva also tells, you have to learn the Tantra Vidya, then through that you have to understand the rahasya of the Munda, and Atmas and things like that, then only you will be in a position to function. This is what he says. What is that actually, This is exactly what is called that which is beyond the control of the normal prana, which is known as what is a Tantra Vidya? What is that rahasya of the Munda? The rahasya of the Munda is that which is dead, the Atmas which are having connection with the world. The desires are unfulfilled desires are there when one dies. Suppose one dies with an unfulfilled desires, he has to be born in this world again in order to execute that karma. Because of his not having the jnanam or not having the absolute advice of the gurus and shastras and vidya, he keeps on being born and keeps on suffering. That is why they say that she is listening to the cries of the Atmas. That's what it is shown. It's very difficult to understand. It's not a physical just function like that. That means these Jiva Atmas, why they are not getting mukti, moksha? Even Bhagavan Shiva is trying. That's what Nandi says, that Even Bhagavan Shiva is trying to give them moksha, but he is unable to do it. He is entangled in it. This is what the dialogue, what I am just repeating the dialogue. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of it? How many people will understand it? It's difficult. It's difficult. Why he said, why Bhagavan Shiva is known as a person, Devata, who is supposed to create layam, destruction, layam. He himself, is Kala. He is Kala. He says that he himself is unable to save them from this. You have to understand the seriousness of it. Even the authority is unable to release him from this. What does it mean actually? The desire, as I told you, because of the attachment and the desire that the Jivatma has got while during the life, what happens? When he leaves the Sharira and goes, again the prana, again retake the rebirth, he is unable to fulfill this requirement because this desire is only keep on multiplying. Since he doesn't have a guru, he doesn't have the, here he is using one word that also I have to add now. He said that good behavior and study of Vedas, he said. Since that person, he had no opportunity to, a study of Vedas means not the books. The Vedas are with Jnanam, knowledge. Study of the knowledge, not the Vedic books, Rig Veda, Sama Veda, Yajurveda. No. The principles of that Rig, with has to be there. Jnanam has to be there. So the person who could not get an opportunity to identify and learn and come out by himself, by the grace of the Guru, by the grace of learning, by the grace of the Vedas, by the grace of this Vedic science, if he has not done it, he gets entangled into this cycle and keeps on taking birth and rodhanam. Only crying is going on for him. Only sufferings are there for him. Why? Because he is unable to come out because he doesn't have the jnanam. So such a person, even Lord Shiva cannot help, is what meaning of that. You got it? That means if you do not learn this, even Lord cannot help you because it is meant for you to uplift yourself. Ascending the mind is absolutely necessary. Even God cannot help you is the meaning of that. That's why he says Bhagavan is also trying for a number of this one, but he is unable to do that. And to know this, why this is happening is because of the unfulfilled desires, attachment, So to know that, the rahasya of the Munda Tantra has to be necessary. Tantra means, Tantra Vidya is what? Tantra Vidya is that which is mantra, mano, trayati, iti mantra. That which is repeated by mind and for the purpose of ascension of the mind towards the Atma is called mantra. Tano, trayati, iti tantra. That which has to be having an activity by the Sharira, by the mana in the lower position, in order to have each and every activity. Through the experience, you gain the knowledge, is called Tantra. Puja is a Tantra, actually. Doing puja is a Tantra. You're putting flowers, you're doing japa, you're doing this mudra, they are all Tantra. Mudra is Tantra. They are all Tantras because you are exercising, doing something in order to attain the knowledge. This is called Tantric Vidya. So that's why in every way Tantric Vidya is said. Tantra is not bad. Tantra is good. Tantra has to be, that's why he is telling, you have to know the Tantra Vidya, through the Tantra Vidya. After learning the Tantra Vidya, after the Tantra what will happen? You will know exactly how the physical body and the Indriyas and the mana attached to that is creating the desire will be known only when you learn Tantra. Tantra is the detail of the function of the Sharira, Swabhava of the Sharira with mana, with the Indriyas and things like that, can be understood only when you know the Tantra. Once you know the Tantra Vidya, then you know the Rahasya of the Munda. That means Rahasya of the Janma. Rahasya of the function of the Janma. That Janma is keeping on getting attached to the lust, the desire of that which is not necessary. Is why the Atma is still, searching for peace. Is why that crying is it. Now you got the meaning of it. That, see, in 2 sentences, such a big subject is covered, and it's very difficult to understand. That is called luster. You understand lust? That's why human being is born again and again. That's why we call it as rebirth. For rebirth is only for human beings. Reincarnation is for noble men. For them the lust is not there. Desire of attachment to the materialistic world is not there. But they are being born, they are also born for the purpose of spiritual ascension. Not themselves, for others. That becomes their karma. Even though you can call it as it is their karma, yes, it is their karma. We can call it as a karma, but the karma which doesn't have an attachment or luster through the emotions or the mind or the, ahankara, the egoism, the ahankara. He functions as the one who has got the luster, who has studied Vedas and scriptures. Can you get the meaning of this sentence? To make you understand this explanation, is it necessary or not? It is necessary, no? Otherwise, this one, he says, from good behavior and study of Vedas is the luster arising. So, lust arising will be misunderstood by Vedic science. How a good lust arises. What is that good lust? Anything that is activated by the lower chakras, a lust that has been created by the lower chakras is also lust. Created, the kama created by the lower chakras should be with the jnanam, knowledge. Jnanam of the, what is jnanam? Brahma Jnanam, Brahma Tattva. Hope you remember that I have told in when? Is it in this course or in the previous Achara? Something like that. Whatever it is. Now, a lust, because of the lust, even a child being born, even the lust, even a lust where a man and a woman has got a lust in order to create a child, and the activities connected to that. Whenever like Maharishis and Tapasvis also get married, I say, they have we can call it as, if there is no lust, there cannot be a conjugal relationship between a man and a woman. It is not possible. When you have a conjugal relationship between a man and a woman, the lust has to be there. As far as this lust is concerned, what is that lust? That lust is with the Brahma Jnanam. That lust is with Brahma Jnanam, and that is identified as the Brahma Jnanam, Brahma Tattvam. He experiences Brahma Sakshatkaram during the process of the activity. This is what is told. That is called the good behavior lust. For lusture coming out of good behavior. So that is very auspicious. In such cases, what happens? That auspiciousness is revealed, so automatically the purpose for which it is done is not a karma which is created by the organs out of indriyas, out of ego, or out of the mind, or for the purpose of physical pleasure. It is not that physical pleasure. It's a pleasure of the Antaratma. It's a pleasure of the Brahman, that is known as the Brahman. So you have to gain, now Tapasvis and Jnanis, the activity that is done, even for the normal human being also does the same activity, the Maharishi also does the same activity, Tapasvi. When the Tapasvi does that activity, he experiences the Brahma Sakshatkara. Because the lustre created out of that is the Brahma Sakshatkara. Because of good behavior of studies of Vedas with. So he is not having the physical body that is functioning. His Brahmajnanam is functioning at that point of time for the purpose of universal peace. His purpose is for universal peace. But a normal human being is just for the physical pleasure. You understand? That's a materialistic luster without the study of Vedas and with. This is the difference between these. Do you understand what I am saying? So what happens? The luster arising. Why I am explaining this? The luster arising out of with studies. That means the desire that is arising. That means when the apana. See, you have to understand this very carefully because it's a very important subject. In a meditation, it is very important. Why? Because when meditating, it's a very big subject again. In meditating, what happens? It is the Kundalini energy that is awakening and coming through the Sushumna, merges with the Sahasra and the dynamic energy, static energy, which is known as the Shiv, which is known as consciousness, which is known as consciousness or Shiv. That means the Kundalini has to awaken and merge, then only it becomes complete. And when it is complete, spiritually when it is awakened, Kundalini is awakened and merged with this, what happens? You get total moksha. Then the moment that has happened, the moment that energy, the Kundalini, spiritually awakened, not physically, spiritually awakened and merges with the Sahasra or the consciousness, higher consciousness here, immediately your body consciousness is gone. He becomes absolutely a saint, a Maharishi or a Tapasvi. Within a fraction of a second that happens, he becomes a Brahma Sakshatkari, Brahmajnani. He will detach himself easily with this material world and absolutely he will be with that Brahmajnana, Brahma Sakshatkara. Even though he may be functioning with this body that he has taken for the purpose of execution of karmas, having taken that he has to undergo the experience of the body. To that extent, he will be with the body, but his functions of activities for execution and exhausting the karmas, as well as for the purpose of liberation of the self, will be absolutely according to the Brahmajnanam and Brahma Tattva. Adi Shankaracharya, Ramakrishna Paramahansa, who are you named Ramana Maharshi? You see why they are there? Even though they also had the Sharira, they also had these things, but what happened? They function as a Brahman. They function as a Brahma Sakshatkari, Brahmajnani. Their activities were Brahmajnanam, Brahma Sakshatkaram. And that's why Adi Shankara said that being in this body also, you will be in a position to have the Brahma Sakshatkara. He emphatically has confessed and told that it is possible. Because he himself is that. Same thing that happened. How you can gain this? The luster of good behavior and studies of Vedas. Apana. Apana is that activity. So, the Kundalini, what I mean to say? What is Kundalini again? Apana. This is a lower energy. You see, what is Kundalini? Apana. If the Apana can be aroused, then what happens? It becomes the voice. Voice means that which is sound, which creates the highest vibration. Sound is the one which has got the highest vibrations in the universe. And that, when it is merges with the Sahasra, immediately he loses the body consciousness and he is aware. Loses body consciousness means what? It's not that he is not aware there is body. Now, that's why consciousness is used. Now we are understanding the body with intelligence and ego. Then he will understand the body with consciousness. That's why we say losing the body consciousness. Losing the body, that means the body is a part of me, is no more there. That consciousness is no more there. Body is with me in order to execute certain karmas. And body is not me. I am utilizing this body in order to execute my karmas, to exhaust them. Nothing other than that is what? the consciousness will understand automatically. That's called the consciousness. This awakening of the consciousness, or this ascending of this consciousness, awakening of the consciousness, merging of the consciousness can be done only if the Kundalini awakens and merges with that. And that means if the Kundalini has to awaken, Apana should be absolutely purified. Is it not? Apana Prana has to be perfect. That is called the lustre of good behavior. If it is attached, if the Apana is attached to the lust, if Apana is attached to the desires of the material, if the Apana is attached to only for the purpose of desires, lust, that is karma of the experiences and pleasures of the external world opposite, and what happens? The Apana remains there only for the purpose of executing the karmas of the worldly matters. It will not be in a position to ascend from the Kundalini to Sahasra. It's not possible. When will it go up? With a good behavior of learning Vedas. Now what does it mean? With. When a person understands that the worldly matters, when he undergoes the learning of the Vedas and scriptures and Upanishad through a guru, he makes them understand, makes them experience that, look, these worldly matters are nothing but fiction. Do not get entangled with them. Use them. Use them. Do not get entangled with them. Do not believe that they will give you liberation or mukti or moksha. Don't believe. You believe in the objects. No, nothing wrong. Objects are there. You are seeing it. You are experiencing it. You believe it. You experience it. After experiencing it, no attachment with that. Don't believe that this will give you moksha or mukti. Don't believe that the money will give you moksha. Don't believe that somebody else will give you mukti or moksha. Don't believe that your eating will give you moksha and mukti. No, what will give you moksha mukti? The learning of the principles of the Brahma Tattvam, Brahma Jnanam, understanding and identifying and making your mind, please understand this is a very, very, very interesting as well as important subject as far as a person who is walking in the spiritual path, not for others. This Apana has to be understood. That means the Apana has to be purified. In the sense, Apana has to be purified in the sense, it should be utilized for the right purpose. When the desire is created by the Apana, when the lust is created by the Apana, if it is a human body, if there is Apana, a lust will be created. A desire will be created. If I do not know how to utilize that desire, it will look for pleasures in the materialistic world, because that is what is available immediately in front of him. That is what is available easily for a person. So naturally, this Apana, when it is creating the lustre, will definitely get attracted to that only, is it not? But in order to make the lustre understand, in order to make the Kama understand, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, everything is Kama. Everything is from lust only. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, everything from the lust only. This lust will understand, or the desire should understand, what should I desire? The desire should, let me put it in words, this is a play of words only. The desire should understand, what should I desire? For that, the knowledge of the Vedic science is necessary. For the knowledge of the Upanishads are necessary. Why am I born? What is the purpose of my birth? What am I supposed to do? This is why Rishi Vaishambhayana has taught the disciples, before they entered into the life, these brahmacharis have been trained in order to identify the Brahma Tattvam and the Brahma Jnanam. And the brahmacharis have identified the Brahman. Then, after identifying the Brahman, they went and lived the normal life in the material world. Now you can imagine how great they will be functioning. They are all as good as the Maha Tapasvis and Maharishis. So even though they have also lived the experience, because their experience was necessary, they have lived the experience of the normal human being's life through getting married, having children, eating and staying, having a house and wearing clothes. Everything they have done as we have done. But they have all done for the purpose of the Brahma Sakshatkaram, and they have done everything with the knowledge of Brahmajnanam, not with the intelligence and the buddhi as we have done. No, with the Brahmajnanam. They wore the clothes based on the Brahmajnanam. They ate based on the Brahmajnanam. They had the conjugal life of this one is based on the Brahmajnanam. They had children based on the Brahmajnanam. They spoke with the Brahmajnanam. They slept with Brahmajnanam. You understood what I mean? Is called creating the apana, purification of the apana. When you identify, when you do tapasya, when you have the jnanam, when you have this absolute jnanam, what happens? Your apana, which is more powerful, Agni in you, which is the Shakti. What is Agni? Shakti in you. That power of thinking in you, power of functioning in you, power of execution of karmas in you, power of the knowledge in you, power of studies in you, power of eliminating your body in you, power of renunciation for you, everything is from that, from the apana. This way, apanaya swaha. What is apanaya swaha? Aham mama apana prana tvam samarpayami is called apanaya swaha. Who can submit? What is that? Apanaya swaha. Aham mama apana prana. To whom? Agni. Where? Tvam samarpayami. Who can surrender or who can put the lustre into the Agni is a person who can do apanaya swaha. Who can put the desires in the Agni? The one who is a jnani. This is the meaning of apanaya swaha. That I am submitting all my desires, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya to Agni swaha. So that is not mine anymore. It's meaning of the apanaya swaha. This apana has to be purified. That's called purification of apana. See the importance of apana. So when the desire, the luster, that's why he used this particular sentence, I liked it very much. Superior translation he has done, even though it is in English done, it is supreme, where he has done Vakso Agni Tadedat Brahma Varchas Samannadya Vityupasita. For that he has written that from the lustre arising from good behavior and study of Vedas. This word is very, very important. So what you should understand, you have to use this apana in order to create the good lustre from that. So your desire should know what to desire. In order to do that, you have to have the Brahmajnanam, Brahma Tattvam. When that comes, what happens? This lustre will create the good behavior. What's the behavior? Now why he has told behavior, to behave? Every desire has a behavior, pattern of behavior. So the good lustre also has got a behavior, pattern of behavior. It's not only that it is creating a good lustre. A good lustre has to have a behavior, pattern of behavior. When you have got the Veda Jnanam, when you have got the Jnanam inside you, the lustre that is created, the desire that is created from you, will create an Agni, Vaishwanaram. In that Vaishwanaram, what happens is that I burn whatever is not necessary. I create a desire, with the Jnanam. Please remember, carefully listen. I create a Jnanam from the lustre, desire. Okay? I create a desire from the desire. With the Jnanam, with the Veda Jnanam, that which is known as Vaishwanaram, in that desire, I burn all the other desires which is not necessary, and by which I am creating a good behavior in the process of desiring. I am creating a good behavior to the lustre or to the process of desiring. That means whenever I have activity of apana, the desire of my desire will be to burn that what is not necessary. It's called apanaya swaha. Yes? Then what happens? It's only purity remains. Everything is burned. Absolute purity remains where when the apana functions, the moment the apana functions, the Kundalini awakens. The moment apana functions, Kundalini awakens. Only one part now. That means apana is done. See, when I speak, apana is functioning. That means whenever I create a compression in the apana, Kundalini awakens. Whenever I create a compression, Kundalini awakens. When? Why? You have to connect it. Why? Because of my jnanam, I have created the lustre, a behavioral pattern of the desires burning into the lustre that I have created with the good practices and jnanam. By that, it constantly burning it, having organized that, I create apana. So whenever I create apana, automatically the unwanted things are samarpayami. So the moment I create a compression, the moment I create an apana, my Kundalini awakens. Whenever I create an apana, Kundalini awakens. It's what Bhagavan said, that once you learn the Tantra Vidya, then the Munda Jnanam can be automatically obtained. With this Jnanam, you will be in a position to destroy the Asuras in this universe. Devata. You got it? This is how it is. Creating the lustre like that. So when you created the lustre, what happens? This burning of unwanted desires happens. Now, when is that we are creating this apana? Here it says that speech is connected. Because Agni is the Devata of the speech. Why Agni? Because of apana. When the apana is functioning, Agni is necessary. Vaishwanaram in us is necessary. So, when I am speaking, the apana is created. Okay? Please connect it. That means, whenever I produce a sound, apana is created. Whenever I created apana, Kundalini awakened. Whenever Kundalini awakened, I have Brahma Sakshatkaram. That means each and every sound, when it comes from my mouth, I have Brahma Sakshatkaram. Speech, you got my point? That means whenever I produce the sound, I am with the absolute consciousness. Not with the buddhi and bodham, intelligence and the ahankara, but I am beyond that which can be understood. I told you at the beginning. Ascension of the mind. Beyond the mind. Ascension of the mind has taken place. That means the moment I speak, I am with the Brahman. Now what is that speech? Speech is not only speaking the sound that you are hearing, what I am speaking from the mouth, and the voice box releases certain vibrations which you are hearing. We call it as sound and we call it as a speech. That alone is not speech. That's also speech. That alone is not speech. The moment I want to think of something, suppose I want to think of something. Whenever I am creating a thought in my mind, I create an apana. This is not. When I have to think, I have to create an apana. So whenever I think something, my apana is created. Having practiced with the apana, purified apana, to have the experiences, as I told you, that the lustre of good behavior, because of the luster of good behavior, the moment I think something, the Kundalini is awakened and I am a Brahma Sakshatkari. That means what? Constantly, 24 hours, he is a Brahma Sakshatkari. Is it not? There is no time when the mind is not thinking. There is no time when the apana is not created, because apana is constantly created. And there is no time. Even when you are sleeping, the apana is created. So, every time, at all times, the person who has controlled, who has identified, created the luster of good behavior by learning Vedas, he awakens the Kundalini, and each and every time the speech comes or the thought comes, and he constantly remain with the Brahman. How beautiful it is. I mean, and you in small shloka of 2 lines, see the universe has been brought down. I really like this very much, because it can be elaborated now any extent to that. This is what it is. So, speech. So when I do, what for? Just a small practice. How can you do all this to be a Brahma Sakshatkari? Just a small practice. Meditating on the apana and creating the good behavior of luster by just understanding the dharmam and the jnanam of the principles of Vedas. You don't have to read the whole Veda shloka and understand the whole. See, I have read the shloka, I don't remember the shloka. I don't have to remember the shloka. If I understand the principle of shloka, I have gone into the sukshmata of that shloka, that's good enough. I understand that sukshmata. So you have to understand the sukshma power of these principles of the Vedic science, so that your apana should be absolute purified. Means the sense, the apana will not misguide you to have a wrong desire. It will have a luster. It will have a luster, but the luster will be with Vedas. Luster will be with good behavior. Specifically said, good behavior. The behavior in the sense, that which has been habituated. What is behavior? That which has been habituated of doing it. It's his habit, we say, no? That means he has been habituated by that. So the luster produced whenever my apana is functioning is habituated of creating Veda Jnanam. So what is excreting from your body? Not stool and urine, Jnanam. With the apana. That's why, so what you are offering to the God, when the apana is swaha, not that power which is excreting stool and urine, I surrender my jnanam to you, hey Agni. That means I surrender everything. Who can surrender his own jnanam? The one who has got the luster of good behavior of with Vedas. The one who has got the absolute knowledge. So, the one who has got absolute knowledge can surrender the jnanam. When he surrenders the jnanam, what remains? Jnanam remains. Purnata. Purnamadam, Purnamidam. That which is submitted is also jnanam. That who has submitted is also jnanam. That what is submitted is also jnanam. That to whom it is subjected is also jnanam. Is what apana. Meditate on this conversion of this. This is called transformation. Meditate on this so that the thought that comes, the jnani, naturally, the voice or the speech that comes when the apana is purified, when that sat thought is purified, each and every thought I am bringing will be purified. That is meant for only for execution of my right karmas, dharmic way of living. So the question of an unwanted thought coming, unnecessary thought coming, or a wrong thought coming, or a fear coming, doesn't arise at all. It cannot come. It's not possible because habituated of creating this. is what is the Brahma Sakshatkara to this. So we have to make a meditation. This meditation we will do. Rita smiles now. When? No holiday, no? Shambho Mahadeva. I think I'll stop here. We'll take the. So where are we? Third shloka is over. Fourth. 3:13:4 will be the next. So this is what. Oh, I forgot the main subject again. What is this? Apana? Which door? Which entrance? Okay. So he is a Dwarapalaka of the western entrance. You have to please this Dwarapalaka in order to see the Brahman. Everywhere Dwarapalakas are there. So Apana is the Dwarapalaka of the western door. So then only you will be positioned. When you please this Dwarapalaka, then only you can go into the space of the heart where Brahman is what Upanishad, making a small story out of it, and he tells that. So this is what it is. So the western entrance. In temples also, eastern entrance and western. As I told you last time, when you enter through the eastern temple, eastern door, what happens? Prana. Same thing happens with the west. When you go out of the western doors, you gain the knowledge. Or when you enter through the western doors. East and west are very important doors in the temples. The northern door is used only when the Garbhagriha is closed. There's a specific this one. They are all connected. Again, I can connect all that activities to the Upanishad, to the prana. They are all based on that. We'll tell that sometime. The whole temple technology and doors and movement, praying, why the temple closes and why you are not supposed to move at that time, or don't go through the eastern door, not through the western door. Go out through the northern door. No, not southern door. Southern door you cannot enter also. Not supposed to. Because it's only for, we told Vyana is meant for taking it out. So these principles are incorporated in our Hindu temples. They are absolute basic principles of Upanishadic way of living. Even though we are ignorantly going through some door and praying and coming back, they have great principles incorporated in that. If one understands that, it is something very great. So they are exactly like the prana that I have. Southern door is for the Vyana, and eastern door is for prana, and western door is for apana. When you understand this and when you start entering the temple and coming out of the temple, that's why prana pratishtha, where the space of the hridaya, that we are going to the prana pratishtha through eastern door, western door, this door, that door. No. So to attain that, how you feel you should, this subject, some function maybe, sometime we'll talk about this, relating the prana to the temple. Can remind me sometimes. We'll talk about it when we are free, not connecting this. Om Shanti.